Welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with Daniel.
And Daniel.
And welcome to the beginning of the week. This is Monday. We're doing a board game breakdown today, which is not what we had planned, actually.
So let me explain what's going on here. We were originally going to get together and do a live play between two cities since Jamie Stegmeyer was nice enough to give us the game for us to do a Twitch stream of. And, well, come to find out over the weekend, one of my wife's co-workers is showing symptoms of COVID-19. Therefore, just because we don't know for sure, I called Danny off and I told him, stay home. We don't know if we got to go into quarantine.
Yep. Better be safe than sorry. And that's true for any of our viewers or anybody who's watching this or in the future. Be safe. Wash your hands. If you don't have a reason to go outside, don't go outside. You know, there's plenty of games that have made wonderful one-player modes. And if you need to play it with other players, there's BoardGameArena.com, there's Tabletop Simulator, there's Tabletopia. There's a bunch of different resources. Be safe. We want you all to be healthy. That just makes sense.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, my wife works in healthcare. She is an MRI tech at a local hospital. So she has a higher risk of being infected. That's why we're taking these extra precautions.
Yeah, definitely. So don't worry, we will get that playthrough soon. We will. We'll find a time that we'll be able to do it. Even if for some reason we have to rig up some weird way to do it online, we'll find a way. I promise you.
Yeah.
I was actually tempted to buy a copy of that. I found one used for sale, and I considered it. But
so for people that don't know, the copy that we were sent, I beat Danny up and took it away from him.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, it wasn't much of a fight, you know. It was more like, hey, can I have it? Yeah, sure. that's cool. But I mean, that I was thinking about it. That is the only one of their catalog that is not like a variation or anything like that, or sequels that I haven't played yet. So I need to fix that.
And I was looking forward to actually playing it. I read the rules of how to do the two-player. There's actually two ways to do the two-player, where we just go head-to-head, or we actually use the Atoma deck that is for the solo player. And it looks fun. I thought we would have had a good time, but again, better safe than sorry.
Exactly. We'll play both versions next time. We'll try. We'll see which one we like better and why. So, but with that being said, we threw together an episode today that we weren't expecting to do, but just real quickly we're like, hey, so now everything's taken care of. What should we do? What's a publisher that doesn't have that many games, you know, and has only been around for a little while? So we thought Pandasaurus. And then we pulled up their list of games. It's a little bigger than we had thought.
They have 67 listings on BGG.
Yeah, 67 listings. Now, granted, so we're going to give a quick preface before we go into the whole full breakdown. As usual, we don't talk about expansions. We might bring them up a little bit when we're talking about the base game, or not sequels that aren't too different. We don't tend to talk about much either. In this example, Machikoro, there was also another version of Machikoro called Bright Lights Big City that are not compatible with each other, but they have a lot of the same cards. And
it wasn't
they change a little bit.
The Bright Lights Big City just like a Target exclusive where you can get the base type game and
yeah, and it does add a variant.
It pulls stuff from like the expansions.
Yeah, exactly. It has some of the cards from the expansion, some from the base, and it has a very different like tableau setup. Like, so what you're allowed to choose from is different, and I'll talk about it when we get to Machikoro, but that's why we don't go over those. And of course we're not going to go over promos and expansions. That just would take too long. And we're going to try our best, but there are a couple games that we're going to be briefly talking about that were reprints. So Pandasaurus used to be hand in hand with IDW, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, a lot of their games are IDW reprints, are with IDW anyways.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff that they worked with.
Exactly. Like, they were their own entity, but I think IDW was the printer of that. So that a lot of these games you might think like, whoa, that wasn't printed by Pandasaurus. Well, you know, it's under their name, So it was. So we'll just briefly touch on them. And Daniel, are you ready to get into this?
Yeah, I'm ready to get into this. Let me just refresh my page real quick because I'm freezing up over here.
Okay. Live troubleshooting. It wouldn't be an episode of Everyday Board Games without it.
But yeah, I'm good to go. Everything else looks fine on my other screen, so...
Cool. All right, then let's get into it. So right here we have Pandasaurus Games page. Their BGG username is Stooge. I never realized that, but that's amazing. I don't know why, but I love that. All right.
Also, if you notice what we're seeing on the main page, that's their new logo.
Yeah.
That they just came up with within the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. The second picture is actually their first logo.
Yeah, exactly. You had the Pandasaurus. I mean, I don't hugely like the new logo, but it's definitely better than the old one, for sure.
See, I love the old logo.
I never really understood it.
I thought it was... That's the point. I like the fact that you can't understand what the heck's going on with it.
Yeah, I suppose so, huh? So... let's read the quick background of them. Pandasaurus Games was founded in 2012 in Austin, Texas by Molly Wardlaw and Nathan McNair, and the goal of making family-friendly hobby games. Now that's another one out of Texas. Steve Jackson I think is out of Austin. Fireside is Austin. Here we go. Like that's like Keith Matejka was talking about how there's a big hub in Wisconsin and
well, yeah, there's a lot of creators in Wisconsin, but it looks like there's a lot in Austin, Texas, no less.
Oh yeah, it's a massive hub. So yeah, there we go. This is talking a little bit about them. Let's talk about the owners. As it said, it was founded in 2012 in order to publish a poorly designed game by Nathan McNair called my screen is not showing all of it.
It says Roller Coaster Rush. This game was smartly canceled, and instead Tammany Hall was the first game to be published by Pandasaurus Games. From there, Pandasaurus has gone on to publish hit games like The Mind, Machikoro Legacy, Dinosaur Island, Silver and Gold, and many, many more.
Yep. So we have our first person, Molly Wardlaw. She is a co-owner. Brings her background in journalism and marketing, having worked for MTV, Texas Monthly, Lollapalooza, Spin, and Fuse TV. Wow, quite the background. That's awesome. As a writer and internet marketing specialist in news media for Cloud 816. Awesome.
And what's neat about it is that you don't really see, like when we go to one of these pages, like the owners on the front page and stuff like that. And the fact that there's a woman owner that's making it big in board gaming. I love seeing stuff like this because we need we need more minority ownership and stuff like that.
Yeah, it needs to not be a minority, right? It needs to be...
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm pretty sure women
gaming
make
is for everybody.
Yeah, gaming is for everybody, but I think there's more female gamers than there is male. Like, despite what, despite what the
Yeah, at conventions it seems a little weird because you see a lot more males and a lot more at conventions and like game shops and stuff like that. And I think a big part of it too is, not gonna lie, we cannot be very inclusive when it comes to people of the opposite sex. Sometimes people with that are of another race, BIPOC people. So we need to be more inclusive to everybody that wants to play these games.
Exactly. So that's great to see a company co-owned by, a man and a woman. That's just perfect. Mm-hmm. So, do you want to take over Nathan McNair?
Nathan McNair, he was a risk management in the financial sector, having been vice president at Goldman Sachs, Deutsche Bank, FINRA, and several boutique financial service firms. He's been an avid gamer since he was a kid, and his favorite game is Power Grid.
Very cool. Man, a banker, huh? Vice president at Goldman Sachs. To leave that, to leave that hard life of getting all that money, that must be rough.
Working with all that money. So
that's true.
I think a lot of it too is that he might have left it because of a stressful job to go to a less stressful job.
That's true. Yeah, I'm guessing playing with games is less stressful, if I had to assume.
Yeah, but owning a gaming company is probably not that much less stress.
Yeah, exactly. Then we have Nicole Perry, operations manager. With a background in administration, Nicole has a passion for business and spreadsheets. She loves using her skills to help designers, illustrators, and other creatives bring their vision to life.
And then, of course, we have Steve Torres, who's head of graphic design, and this man needs a raise because Pandasaurus has some of the best-looking games out there.
They really do.
With over a decade of agency and freelance experience, Steve-O brings his love for design, games, and user experience to the table, merging practical functionality with eye-catching visuals. His passion for the craft shows through with each final product.
Very cool. And then we have Brian Lewis, community manager and retail sales rep. Brian recently left the retail sector after almost 15 years to serve as Pandasaurus' game community manager. When Brian isn't developing games in his spare time, he loves to play all types of games, especially worker placement and midweight Euros. His additional hobbies include video games, crocheting, and watching reality television. And that's the team right there. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty more people involved.
Yeah.
But those are the primary ones. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. The fact that you have women in high levels too is very showing inclusive. And the thing is, they're based out of Austin. Even though Austin's in Texas, it's probably one of the more non-conservative cities in Texas.
Yeah, it probably is. It's where all the art hippies go, right? Isn't it? I have
pretty much.
A good friend of mine moved to Austin for architecture and design, and he's a strange cat, but I love him. He's a good friend of mine.
But yeah, so it's interesting to see. It's good to see this kind of stuff. But yeah, I do have to say though that the head of graphic design over here, Steve-O, he's been doing a good job because as we're going to go through the games, you could just see the covers getting better and better and better and more distinct.
Yeah.
Be those things that covers are supposed to do. Be eye-catching. Make people want to take it off the shelf and like, ooh, what is this?
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about the first two really fast. And the first one that I have here is Dragon's Gold. And the reason why we're talking about this really fast is because this was reprinted by Pandasaurus and IDW, but the original version of this was by Bruno Faiduti in 2001. They remade it, Dragon's Gold, I want to say in like 2015 or 2016 they made a new version of it, and it's really cool. I actually have this game. It's really quite fun where you're basically bidding on you're playing cards to the dragons, and when a certain amount has been played to the dragons to defeat it, then you get to take the gold tokens or the money tokens that are worth various values and sets. It's a very simple game. I have the older version, probably the 2001 version actually, which was by Descartes. And yeah, I'm glad that this got a remake because the other tokens were not so great. They were very hard to see for us colorblind folk.
Yeah, so Fire and Axe, I don't know too much about the other game on that list. I don't know about the first one either, but Fire and Axe, the only thing I know about it is it's a Viking game. So apparently, you're trying to get glory across 3 epic sagas, each one a different journey to raid, trade, and settle territories. Will you choose the path of diplomacy, you trade for victory, or your longship cast a bloody wake? You'll gather crew, goods, and to outfit your boat. Your ships will be filled with warriors, or will they be filled with warriors or goods, settlers, or sackers? After you launch from bustling ports in the open sea, you must choose your path to power. But don't get lost in the wind. The sea will gladly devour souls who take her lightly. So this means it's an area control or area movement, it says here. Pick up and deliver, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, looks interesting. Don't know too much about it. I know them and IDW did a reprint of it. You can tell because they have the old logo on the box cover.
Yeah.
So it was originally published in 2004 by Ragnar, with the Ragnar brothers. I'm looking at some of the other publishers: Proludo, IDW, Asmodee, and Pandasaurus, of course, all publishers. So
yeah, exactly.
Other than that, don't know too much about it.
Yeah, we'll have to find a used copy and give it a shot. All right, but let's talk about the big one, Tammany Hall. and that was the first one that they talked about. I used to own this game. It was really fun. It was just a shame nobody would ever play it with me.
Well, it's about New York politics.
Yeah, exactly.
Like 1700s.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very, very specific game, but yeah, it's about backstabbing, corruption, temporary allies, and taking power at all costs. It's basically you are sending out your tokens onto the board, trying to control different districts in Tammany Hall, and you're trying to vie for the power and gain the bonuses for each of those. There is a lot going into it and a lot of backstabbery. It can be an incredibly mean area control game. And there is a little bit of auctions, but it's not too crazy. It's really neat though. I enjoyed the mess out of it. I just remembered that I only got it to the table once, and it was very difficult to do that. But I do know that they are talking about bringing it back.
Well, good, because do you see the reprint about or the sale that it has?
Yep. You know, I mean, it's only $264. I mean, if I had a copy of it back in the day.
Maybe you shouldn't have sold your copy.
Maybe not, right? Yeah.
I am not a fan of price gouging, stuff like that. I know it's out of print and you're trying to make some money, but come on. A game that, when I saw this in the shop, they had it for, well, this was about 2014 or so.
$50, yeah.
It was a while ago. They had it for $20 because they were trying to get it out of the shop, and now people are selling it for nearly $300.
Right. Well, so we have some reasonable listings on it. 2009, the version, $40 on Board Game Geek. So go to Board Game Geek. Don't go to Amazon for that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, the Amazon listing. So I mean, that's the, what flag is that? Like Deutsch. So it's 60 euros. So. You could get it for 80 Canadian loonie.
There you go.
Which is roughly about $60 or so dollars in American.
It's like $6.54 in America, right? Give or take. I don't know. I forget the rate difference. All right, so that was Tammany Hall. It actually is a really fun game. It's just it's so difficult to get to the table. If we ever debated this game, which I think we might at some point in one of our top 8 debates somehow.
But the only problem is I've never played it, so we can't debate it.
Oh, that's true. But if we ever did, then, I mean, initial likelihood of getting to the table so difficult. I'm not going to lie, I've looked into it. I kind of wanted to pick up that cheap copy that they had at the shop, just because. But it just, the big part of it is a lot of it has to deal with negotiations, and I just don't like negotiating with other people. Yeah, you don't. You're stingy. Which is why
damn right.
Which is why we created a debate channel. Anyway, let's go on to the next one.
That's because I don't have to negotiate.
That's true. So, Great Fire of London. You want to take this one?
So, Great Fire of London of 1666 is the full title. It was made in 2010. As a property owner, choose to save your home or the city of London. So, this is actually a historical game. There was the Great Fire of 1666 in London. The way it's described here, on Sunday, September 2nd, 1666, Thomas Fariner, the baker to the king, forgot to put out a hearth fire in his shop. This simple act of negligence created a towering lethal inferno which eventually destroyed 13,000 houses and leave nearly 90% of the city's population destitute and homeless. You are no simple bystander to this tragedy. The future of London lies in your hand. In the Great Fire of London 1666, the players are men of wealth and standing who have property around London. The Lord Mayor has failed to act, and it's down to these mighty men to lead trained bands of militia to fight the fire and save the city. To do so, you must decide which districts to sacrifice to the fire and which to protect. These same men own much of London, thus such choices will shape their own future and greatly affect their wealth and standing. Use trained bands to suppress the fire, explosives to destroy blocks of housings to create fire breaks and prevent its spread. Do you choose to protect your home, turning a blind eye and allowing the fire to consume your rival's property, or will you stand as a hero of London and choose to save as much of the city as possible? Victory can belong to the players with the most property left after the ashes settle, but stopping the fire and saving London's most famous landmarks may win you a more altruistic landowner, the hearts and mind of the people. Save the city or watch it burn. This sounds actually really cool.
Yeah, it sounds super depressing, though. I mean, it really does sound neat. Like, it looks like it's a card play game, and you have to really wisely choose what parts of the board that that you want to see succumb to the fire. But I don't know, that it sounds. I would definitely play it, but this seems like it's a reprint from another company, and that Pandasaurus likely brought it to America.
America, yeah. But it looks interesting. But then again, a lot of newer board gaming companies, especially Pandasaurus or Steve Jackson Games and stuff like that, that's where they got their start, was bringing stuff over from Europe to America.
Well, not so much Steve Jackson, but yeah, a lot of Rio Grande, Mayfair.
Rio Grande, yeah.
And that's not to say that Steve Jackson hasn't done that, because they have. We know that. Port Royal is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
So, okay, cool. Yeah, Great Fire of London. Let's talk about...
I like the pieces on it. It looks pretty cool for, like, I'm guessing those red cylindrical pieces are the fires.
Yeah, I think so. That's what I would have guessed. The viewers on Twitch and YouTube just saw that real quick. Yido. Yido is a game by Eggert Spiel, and then brought by Pandasaurus. Japan, 1605. Hidetada Tokugawa,
Tokugawa.
Yeah, has succeeded his father in the new shogun, ruling from the great city of Edo, aka Yido, the city known in the present times as Tokyo. This marks the beginning of the golden age of the Tokugawa shogunate and the so-called Edo period that will last until 1868. Naturally, the most powerful families in Edo immediately tried to curry favor with the new shogun. I can't read very well today. And this opportunity our clan has been looking for, our chance at power and glory. Our clans will prove ourselves to be indispensable to the new shogun. We will work from the shadows to acquire information about our rival clans. We will kidnap those who might oppose our ascent. Sorry, not accent. That sounded weird. And assassinate those who prove a threat. We will use cunning to prevent our adversaries and doing the same to us. And from doing the same to us. We will find glory in the honor of the eyes of the new shogun, or failing that we end his rule by any means necessary. Action queue, auction bidding, hand management, map deformation, set collection, and worker placement. I've never heard of map deformation.
I haven't either, but if you look at some of the pictures, there is a lot going on in this game.
Yeah, this looks like a
lot.
Quite a heavier game. That's not
so
a bad thing.
Apparently in Edo, you are the roles of clan elders in the city of Edo during the early years of the shogunate, as we've read through that first description. You're supposed to amass prestige points by completing missions. To do so, players must gather the necessary assets and, most importantly, outfox their opponents to prevent them from completing their mission. This sounds like a headache, just because of everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Looks good. Don't get me wrong. I'd try it, but ouch.
Yeah, it looks really pretty, but it looks heavy.
Very
I love the
heavy.
graphic design on that. That's cool.
Let me scroll up real quick. It is rated a 3.36 out of 5 on the weight complexity scale.
Okay, that's not nothing, that's for sure.
Yeah, I have seen the cover. I have not played the game.
Right, neither have I. So, I don't know, this looks like something I would gladly play.
Yeah, it looks right up your alley. Except for the fact that it's actually kind of pretty.
Come on now. Oh, that was a hearty stab. Radis Cardis, let's talk about that.
Radis Cardis is a game published in 2012 by Henrik Berg in Osseberg. I do not know how to pronounce that little circle over the A. So, in 1347, the Black Death ravages Europe. Right there, that already got me hooked just by saying that. The ruler of your land has just succumbed to the plague, and now you, the princes of the land, compete against one another and struggle to replace him. To do so, you travel around the land to gather loyal supporters from among the various classes and Middle Ages. Each day you visit a different town, each containing different kinds of buildings, and each providing different kinds of benefits. When entering a building belonging to a given class, you recruit followers from that class. Once in a while, you also take a chance on recruiting some of the strangers lurking in the streets. There are a few rats in those streets, too. But a rat or two won't kill you, right? So apparently it's a card game based on the Ratis board game, which includes 12 different buildings with players using all or only some of them each game to provide a wide variety of play. So do you play it safe, or will you run the risk of perishing from the effects of the plague?
Yeah, this has been on my radar before. I've actually considered pretty strongly to try this. I've just never gotten the opportunity. Looks fun, though.
Looks interesting. I like, again, a big thing is I like historical games. Academy Games is probably one of my favorite publishers.
And now Pandasaurus, all of their earlier ones.
Oh, they're earlier ones, but if I'm noticing a trend here, so they went straight Euro in the beginning, and they've moved away into what I've been dubbing Euro trash, where it's a high blend of Ameritrash with Euro mechanisms. And so they've become the kings of that set of type of gaming further down the road.
Right, exactly. All right, yeah, that's something I would consider, that's for sure. But our next one is Open Sesame in 2012 by Antoine Bauza and Corentin Lebrat.
This is a reprint, if I remember correctly, that they brought over from... Because I've heard of this one before, but I haven't seen this cover.
Yeah, I haven't seen that cover either. So it's probably a reprint. Originally Ali. Probably like Alibaba, I'm guessing. It said, yep, okay, there we go. In Open Sesame, aka Ali, players reenact the story of Alibaba and the 40 Thieves as a push-your-luck memory game. Push-your-luck memory game from Antoine Bauza. That makes sense. In each round, one player takes on the role of Ali, while the other players are all thieves. These thieves must repeat in turn, and without error, the ever-growing list of objects. These objects being the treasures of Alibaba covets and wants to steal. The question for Ali is whether to stop or not, before he covets too much and ends up stuck in the cave with the treasures falling into the hands of the thieves. So, it sounds almost like an asymmetric ink and gold?
In a sense. The only thing that popped in my head was the movie Aladdin, the Prince Ali song. Every time he said Ali, just Prince Ali.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's funny. Yeah, that's kind of what I see. I don't know why. I mean, is Open Sesame, was that in the original Alibaba and the Prince of and the 40 Thieves?
Open Sesame opened one of the hidden caves where they kept all the treasures for the thieves.
Oh, okay.
That's where we get the term Open Sesame.
Interesting. That I didn't know. And the more you know. Cool. And that was Open Sesame.
All right. Next one is New Amsterdam, where printed in 2012. Compete to grow your fur trading company in the early American settlement. So when they say New Amsterdam, they mean New York.
Yep, because that's what New Amsterdam was.
So the description is hilarious. New Amsterdam? I don't know how to pronounce that word.
Did somebody just mash the keyboard? I mean...
Was founded by the Dutch West Indies in order to encourage the lucrative beaver pelt trade with the local Native American hunters along the Hudson River. Which is true. To establish a trading post there, they needed a town and a fort which built on the tip of the Manhattan Island to encourage European patrons, that is, settlers of means or noble birth, to populate the colony. They granted them both land and indentured servants. The patrons became the lord of a new feudal system, not unlike that seen in Europe. And Amsterdam players are those patrons, and they bid on action lots in order to build businesses, work land for both food and building materials, compete in elections, ship first to the old world, and trade with the Lenape Indians. A process that gets more complicated as players claim more land and push the Lenape camps further up the Hudson River. This looks intriguing.
Yeah.
It looks very intriguing because it's got that straight up Euro flavor that you like.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also got a lot of historical context in it. I don't know why they want me to try to pronounce the way they say new.
Yeah, I don't know. Hey, give us 1 second real quick.
Hamilton stuck in my head at the moment.
Oh, that's okay. Alright, sorry about that. Very quick pause there for a minute.
Just more editing for me, it's all you're doing.
Yeah. I gotta do the best. Yeah, this one looks genuinely intriguing. Like I like the board, the setup, the way everything looks on it.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
I have never heard of this one at all. How much is this for sale? Let's see here. $31 on Amazon. That's not bad.
Interesting though that I'm noticing a lot of White Goblin games. The last one was a White Goblin game as well as this one. So
Yeah.
I wonder if Pandasaurus, when they moved away from what was it, IDW, they started working with other games to bring these over.
And this is by Jeffrey D. Allers, which is he's a very interesting designer. I'm gonna bring up some of his, or not some of his games, but I'm gonna load it up for my own because I am aware of some of the games that he's done, and I've liked everything that I've seen of his so far. So now this is on my list of definitely one that I'm intrigued about. I had never heard about this prior to this list.
So it's a good thing the next game we left for you.
Yes, let's go into it. Machikoro, and I actually played this for the first time probably in about a year. I played this last night with my wife.
The regular game, not the Legacy.
Right, the regular one. And because we played the full Legacy campaign, which let me tell you all the spoilers. No, I'm just kidding. But no, we adore this game, and we've since moved on to Space Base, and my wife likes it a lot more now. But then we played this again just to give it a shot, and I ended up getting like $40 in one roll, and it was like a super lucky roll, and I ended up winning it. I think she's done with it now. I think it's retired.
That's because you beat her.
That's because I beat her, right? Yeah, exactly. I mean, and it wasn't. But here's the thing, though. Every time we've played Space Base, I've beaten her too, or my son is beaten. Either way, she hasn't won a Space Base yet. So maybe that's just enticing. Yeah. Welcome to the city of Machikoro. You've just been elected mayor. Congrats. Unfortunately, the citizens have some pretty big demands: jobs, a theme park, a couple of cheese factories, and maybe even a radio tower. A tough proposition since the city currently consists of wheat field, a bakery, and a single die. Yeah, so the idea of this game is if you want a game that's like an economic or engine building version of, like, say, Settlers of Catan, this is a perfect example of it. Because everybody, or every turn, one player will roll the die, and then everybody will gain money. Maybe two, right? Exactly. And depending on if they have the train station built. Your goal of the game is to build all of your landmarks. Be the first to do it. So it's finding different ways to get money, but each of the cards activate in different ways, and they also activate with different dice rolls. So if I roll a 6 on my turn, that might affect me, but it might affect you depending on what cards you have. For example, the wheat fields are 1s, so anybody who rolls a single or a 1 on a single die then will get a coin from the bank, and everybody starts with that. The trick is to just get more money and get more points. This was a Spiel des Jahres nominee in 2015, as well as countless other awards, or not countless, sorry, 4 other awards.
I was going to say 1, 2, 3,
5 total.
I can count
Meeple's
those.
Choice nominees, Les Grand Public Finalist, As d'Or Jeu de l'Année nominee, and Australia Best International Game nominee. What's interesting about this game, and this is what put Pandasaurus and IDW on the map for me, is I saw this game for the very first time in Walmart up in Albuquerque. That's where I bought it. It wasn't in any of the stores.
I don't mind the game. I enjoyed playing it when I did play it. My wife hates this game with a passion.
I can
Which
understand
makes me
that.
hesitant about Space Base, because I'm like, I love Space Base, but if she hates this game...
Well, so here's the difference between this and Space Base. Space Base, you have way more control. This one,
That's true.
I love the engine building in it, but it is still very random chance. In Space Base, you start off with a little more random chance, but everything evolves really fast, and it's not just random upon random upon random. It's you have a lot of option. So
And I have noticed that my wife hates random in games.
Yes.
The least amount of random, the happier she is.
Which is weird because she doesn't like abstract strategies, which are pure strategy. It is not random at all.
Well, theme does have to be important to it, too.
That's true. That's fair.
She's really big into, I guess, like I was saying earlier, Eurotrash games. Like, she loves Keyforge. She loves the aspect of that one. She enjoys Gloomhaven is one of her favorite games. She likes stuff like that where there's Euro mechanisms in it, but has a lot of theme coming out. Like you feel like you're controlling something.
Okay, that's fair. That makes
she really digs Horrified. That's like one of her favorite games that she's played with in the last year.
You know, we played Horrified the other night with my wife, and she doesn't like it. This was her second time playing it. She gave it another chance, and she was like, I don't know, it's just boring. And I don't know why, because she loves Pandemic, which is just, that's kind of like the next level up, you know?
Yeah, Horrified is like the simple Pandemic.
Yeah, kind of,
Instead of flipping 2 cards, you flip 1.
Exactly. Alright, so that was Machikoro. I adore this game. Although this was the very first game that really... I'm going to pull up one picture from it. And that's the picture that you can kind of see. It's the fourth one where the components versus the box size is just ridiculous.
And not even just that. I know we don't talk a lot about the expansions, but the expansions that came out with it, they came with these giant boxes, and it's just a little stack of cards at the bottom of it. And they have like those, what do we call them, the trench in Fantasy Flights?
Yes.
So it's just a little trench, and there's to the point like the first expansion box could probably fit the whole base game plus that expansion deck. It's still not take up half the box as big as those boxes were.
The thing is, the expansion box, which is half the size of the base box, can hold both expansions and the base game and not take up half of it. Like I've tested it. You can hold like 3 or 4 copies of Machikoro in one box. It's really ridiculous.
Yeah, and I get why people are upset with it, and I get why they also did it, because it's one of those things, like, if you see one of those smaller deck boxes, you're thinking, okay, maybe that's just an expansion to something.
Yeah.
Because we're trained to see it. So Machikoro has this big box because it wants that presence on the shelf, and, you know, it doesn't want to be in one of those little deck boxes that are to the side by the register.
Yeah, exactly.
That not a lot of people pay attention to. So.
Well, even if it wasn't a little deck box, you're not going to buy it for $30. There's no way. Like, but a box this size, that's a $30 game box. So it makes sense.
The box.
Yeah.
The components in there. That was probably one of my big issues with Machikoro, is that I saw how much actually comes with the game and how big the box is. It's like, I'm just buying a box.
Right.
It's all it is. The game's good. It's fine, but for what it comes with, I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to justify. Sure. All right. Our next one, String Safari.
So, again, not something I'm very familiar with. I'm noticing, like, the earlier part of Pandasaurus's brand I'm not familiar with. However, what we didn't mention about Machikoro is that was a game they brought over from Japan.
Yes.
And this is another game that they had brought over from Japan.
Right.
With the designer is
Hisashi Hayashi. Yeah, I actually own this game. I think, yeah, I still own it. I'm probably going to trade it in. I did like it. If you want, I can talk about it, but if not...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you lay out the savannah, essentially, where you have all sorts of different types of animals, and you have a string. And the string, you're trying to include as many of the animals into that string as possible. You know, you can't really touch the edges or anything, and they have to be entirely within the string. And then they'll count. Basically, you take one or two of them, and you essentially claim ownership on the animals, seeing like the best ones you can. Different animals score in different ways, and depending on which type of animal you're trying to score, you'll also get bonus points if you're searching for certain ones. It's pretty neat. I like the fact that that's a completely unique component, honestly. And that's one thing that we're going to see Pandasaurus evolve into later, is how unique their components change. And some of the newer stuff has just completely bizarre components, which is exactly what now I'm expecting from Pandasaurus.
And those who are familiar with the designer's name
Yeah.
He's also the guy who created Trains from AEG and Yokohama from Tasty Minstrel. Those are his big
Yep.
ones.
Yep. Yeah, Hisashi Hayashi. He's a well-known name as far as like Japanese game. Or
Yeah,
I think Okazu brand is the big one.
yeah.
I might be wrong, but yeah, it's a cool game. I like it, but it also really very much suffers from that. Like, there's only 5 or 6 components. Those cards are about the same width as a normal playing card, but they're square, so they're also the same height. And there's just a deck of those, some strings, and a couple tokens.
Okay, I have to say I prefer the IDW Pandasaurus cover to the other
To
cover.
the
If you click
original.
on the first picture and show to
Okay.
everybody what that cover is, oh my god,
Yeah, it's
it's disturbing. That lion looks like it's got no soul.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, they're all dead in the eyes. They all have beady eyes that don't blink ever, clearly.
The only thing that actually looks halfway decent is the rat.
Right, exactly. But I like it if you look at the next image from that side, it shows all of the components in a much smaller container. So this is probably akin to something like maybe like a Munchkin size box, whereas the Pandasaurus version is in a Machikoro size box.
Well, I think a big part of it too is what we're looking at is the Japanese version box, the Okazu brand. And the reason being they're so small is Japan just doesn't have a lot of space. So they're very conscientious of the amount of space things take up, whether it's on a shelf space or just in general.
Yeah.
Because I've had friends who live in Tokyo, their apartment is the size of my kitchen.
Right, exactly.
The entire apartment is the size of my kitchen.
Yeah, it's hard to get like massive board game collections like we have, you know.
Yeah.
So that's fair. I don't blame that. So that makes a lot of sense that it's like such a tiny game in a reasonably sized box.
And again, that's the thing about Machikoro is that we've only talked about the box size of how it is here in America. I bet you anything, because of how small it is and all the components, it's probably a much smaller box in, say, Japan and stuff like that, where they're more conscious about that kind of stuff. They need smaller stuff.
It is. It's actually in the size of a box that's like a Smash Up expansion.
Which is a lot more understandable
Yep.
from where they are.
Yep, exactly. Cool. So let's move on to the next one.
Dia Monsters. I think I have played this one. I think you
I
used
forgot
to
to
own
pull it up. Yeah. Sorry about that. I don't have it on my screen here. I can get it here in a bit. But yeah, Dia Monsters. Go ahead.
Dia Monsters. In the card game Dia Monsters, each player starts the game with an identical hand of cards, each of which has a cartoonish picture of a monster and a value from 1 to 5. Each round, one card is dealt from the deck face up. Some monsters are more valuable than the others, and some eat the diamonds found on the other cards. Players attempt to win the round by playing the highest card in front of them, but cards of equal values cancel out. The winner of each round adds his winning card plus the face-up card to his collection of cards won. The first player to collect 3 cards of the same value or cards worth 5 diamonds wins the round. I remember playing this with you. I know you had it at one point. I don't know if you still do.
I don't anymore.
I didn't like it.
Yeah, I mean, it was okay. I did enjoy it.
I understand what they was going. It's more of a children's game, and they were going more for like a best way to say it is, and it's not really this, but like a trick-taking game for children, basically to teach them how you're trying to set collect and stuff like that by playing the right card at the right time.
Right. This was hands down, like, so Machikoro didn't bother me originally with the box size. I know we're talking a lot about box size, but it is a conscious choice. Machikoro did not bother me too much because it did have a couple dice. You know, it did have some separate sets of cards that you would want to separate in different wells, and it did have quite a few coin tokens. This was literally a deck of cards, and this box is about a foot tall. Like, it is ridiculous. It the insert
this
just
could
has a single
literally
well.
have been in a deck box and be fine.
Yeah, exactly. And the only reason it was in a box this big is because they made the rule book that big.
Yeah.
It could have been in a deck box, hands down. And I mean, they only sold it for like $15. It wasn't much, and it was a fine game. But this was the first one that really, really, like, it kind of became a joke about, you know, these boxes. It's like, oh, yep, there's another one. So
There's
imagine,
yeah.
like, hey, look
For
at that,
me, this
the
one,
size of that box. It's the size of the shelf. I bet it's a couple decks of cards this time. You know?
yeah, I think my issue with this one is that it was just too simple. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I get you. And I like simple card games, but this, I don't know, there was something about it that just seemed off. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, if I
exactly.
play, like, for example, if I play Llama, you know, I like Llama a lot. That nothing seems off about that, you know,
So you're one of the two people.
or well, yeah, right. But they have other small card games that they come up with later too, and I love small card games like that. But yeah,
Again, you're one of the two.
Dia Monsters seems really weird. I don't know. There was something about it that I didn't enjoy that much.
Yeah, I get you. I didn't have fun with it. I remember you bringing it and trying it. I think you actually got it at a Gamma that you were supposed to try
Maybe.
out. Yeah, because I remember you coming back from somewhere and having this game. You're like, hey, let's try this out. And I want
Yeah.
to say it was a Gamma.
Yeah, more than likely. That sounds right. I know I've met with IDW before. Our next one. Since I took two, do you wanna take this one?
Sure. Lost Valley, the Yukon Gold Rush, 1896, originally published in 2014. Its tagline is Explore the Valley and manage resources and search for Yukon Gold. So this one is a dice rolling modular board tile placement game. Lost Valley is a game about Klondike Stampede that rushed north and about the grueling journey and these would-be prospectors undertook, traversing steep mountains passes with heavy loads through severe weather and ever-dwindling resources. During the course of the game, players must explore an ever-expanding Lost Valley in hopes of discovering a gold vein in a mountain, a virgin forest to provide timber, or a fishing spot along the river to provide food. The map will be different each time you play, so you never know what lurks around the corner. As you set out from the outfitters with everything you own strapped to your back, you must balance carefully the resources that you need. Of course, you will need tools, dynamite, and timber to extract the mountain gold, but you'll need to make sure you have room for food, rifles, and fishing poles to help survive the wilderness. In addition to expanding the player counts to 2 to 6 from 3 to 4, and shortening the playing time, the second edition of Lost Valley rebalances the gold nugget distribution, provides a third path to victory, and thanks to be included in expansion modules, allows players to build canals, learn new abilities, and stake claims on gold mines. So this sounds intriguing to me. I've never heard of this one, though.
Yeah, I've only seen the cover briefly. One thing that I want to point out and that looks the most interesting to me is I have a picture of the back of the box here. And you have rhomboid or rhombus tiles that you're placing. But there's also some tiles that are just single equilateral triangles too. So that makes it so you can't just like have the exact same pattern gridded up. You're going to have like these weird variations because of the triangles included in there.
Yeah.
That's intriguing to me, honestly.
It looks good. I think I probably get more into this than I did into Gold West.
Okay.
It looks a little bland too, but it looks more colorful than Gold West.
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't disagree with that. I would try this for sure. I just don't know much about it other than
same here.
what we just read.
A lot of these, Pandasaurus wasn't really on my radar during a lot of these. I know Machikoro is what put it on a lot of people's radar.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, the Pandasaurus did a lot of stuff with IDW.
Right.
So I didn't
this,
like a lot of IDW games.
This one, I want to point out, the cover doesn't have Pandasaurus' logo, but it is only from Pandasaurus.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't know what to think about that.
I don't either. But yeah, no, I don't. Pandasaurus just wasn't on my radar, so a lot of these games kind of fall to the wayside here. And a big part of it too is because at the longest time they were with IDW, and I just wasn't a fan of a lot of IDW games.
Yeah, exactly, and that's fair. All right, let's go on to the next one. Quinto, which was just recently reprinted by, I want to say, Gamewright. Or maybe maybe it was originally by Gamewright, and Pandasaurus is reprinting it. This is a very simple roll and write game. So you have different symbols and different colors. Basically, on your turn, you roll. I think you roll all 3 dice. I do I think I either own a copy or used to own it. I forget. But you roll the 3 dice, and you pick one of the numbers. That's simple as that. And they all have to be, every number has to be higher than the previous one.
Okay.
Very simple. It's like the simplest roll and write with a couple of, like maybe Wurfel Bingo. That might be the only other, like, one that's slightly simpler. But yeah, this one looks pretty neat. Players all play at the same time, with everyone trying to fill in rows of the score sheet with numbers as quickly and as highly as possible in order to score the most points. That's the game. Spiel des Jahres recommended in 2016.
It looks interesting. I haven't played it, but I've noticed a trend here, and I think it really starts with this one. This is where Pandasaurus started doing like their big boxes, but they also supplemented all those big boxes with these smaller games. I guess Dia Monster would be one of those where it's the smaller game supplementing some of the bigger games. This way they have it, and if you'll notice it later on when we get to it, but like the games like The Mind and what is that other, that colored one?
The game? Oh no, Illusion. Sorry.
Illusion, yeah. So they do a lot of these smaller games, and I have to say, some of these smaller games help them pay for the bigger games that they're coming out with.
Right. And so to clarify mine earlier, I said I thought it was Game Right. It was Gigamic. That was the company that came out with it.
Okay.
But it's also White Goblin Games, which is probably why Pandasaurus had a foot in the door.
Yeah.
Cool.
So the next one on our list here is Pirates of the Seven Seas.
Pirates of the Seven Seas.
I know nothing about this one. This was made in 2015. It is an innovative, fast, and competitive board game full of events from everyday pirate life, plundering, old maps, and horrible, gigantic krakens. Adventurers, new ports, and powerful rituals are waiting for you. Sometimes pirates have to rely on other pirates, but don't forget that you can get stabbed in the back at any time. And so the mechanisms in this one is card drafting, dice rolling, hand management, set collection, simultaneous action selection, and variable phase order. To go on with the description, as the wave breaks on your ship, take a turn from topsy-turvy motions of the ocean by rolling your ship dice. But remember that where they land on the board means as much as what you roll. Choose to remain an independent vagabond, or maybe cut a deal with the governor to become an official like in your pirating ways. Consult with the shaman to curse the other pirates, or pay visits to the cartographer to find a map with some hidden treasure. In the game, turns begin with players choosing the character card whose action they want to play, because each character have their own ability to help you get rich quickly, and place it face down in front of them. When everyone has chosen their character card, the first player announces the characters one by one. When you hear your character, you reveal your character card and play your adventure, curse, or port card, and everyone gets involved in a new adventure, which usually ends with a grandiose sea battle, or some curse, or finding a new port. The pirate with the most booty wins the day, but a pirate's life isn't always on the up and up.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, sounds quite interesting. It kind of reminds me of another pirate game that I played at a tabletop day one day, and I can't remember what it's called, but I remember like you're either working with the captain or you're causing a mutiny, and each card has their own special ability.
Yes, Jolly Roger.
Jolly Roger, yeah, I remember that. And to me, it's the card itself sounds like that, but this is interesting about where the dice land is just as important as what you roll. That seems interesting.
Yeah, I've always appreciated games that have that extra little like nuance there. The like Ninja Dice that matters definitely. There's a game by WizKids that they rebranded into like WWE. Zoo something where you're flicking the dice into it, you know.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. I'm gonna look up the name right now because I have it on my my dexterity games. I want to say, at least it should be, and for some reason I'm not finding it. So, yeah. I guess I'll figure
Maybe
that out.
Maybe you don't own it anymore.
I'm 90% sure I do. It's gotta be somewhere around here. Oh well. I'll find it out another day. Or maybe I'm just not seeing it. That's probably more than likely the case. Huh. Anywho.
So we skipped ahead to the next game.
Alright, that's fine. And that is Orphan Black the card game. So, I've played this.
I hate this.
I get it. I get why
this
you don't like it.
This is one of the IDW. The reason why IDW just I don't pay attention to them is these kind of licensed games that they come up with.
Yeah, it was a licensed game.
There's very few that are good.
Yep, it was based on the TV show Orphan Black, where to viewers in a world where human cloning is a hidden reality, but everyone's motive is a question. So you're playing as Orphan Black, basically, or all of the different clones from it. Assigned 3 teams: the Proletheans, Neurolutionists, or the Black.
The Black.
The goal of the game is to influence as many clones into joining your faction as possible, while also keeping your opponents guessing as to which of the 3 factions you're really working for. If you can keep the other players in the dark while secretly exerting your influence on the target, you'll come out on top. Yeah, I mean, this was unfortunate, but this always fell flat every time we demoed it.
I think the big part of it too is it's basically a social deduction game at its heart. You're trying to figure out who the other people are in the game.
Yeah.
The only problem is it's a social deduction game that came out at the same time as the Resistance was out. What is that other one
Resistance
that is
was
in the
out
Resistance
along,
but with Merlin?
Avalon.
Avalon, yeah. So
Resistance was out a long time before this, but here's the problem with this.
But I'm saying it was out during that time where Resistance already had a major following.
Yeah, exactly. So if you compared this and this game, the idea is you're trying to get the most of the orphans as you can. But here's the problem with it. You're trying to throw people off of your scent as to which faction that you're part of. The thing is, if I'm the Black, that you might also be, and so that means that you and me are also pinned up against the same cards, and we both have to fight for them. But the problem is, in games like this, where they take like a simple set collection game and turn it into a social deduction game, that's no longer social deduction. That's just, I have to play suboptimally just to keep you away from me. And that's not the same. I can't compare this to Resistance, because Resistance is quite literally, I have to give information, and I'm trying not to give the information you need to know given the best scenario. That is absolutely social deduction, whereas this was just kind of like, oh, well, you're starting to figure out that I'm part of the Team Prolethean, so I'm just going to buy a different card this turn, and then that doesn't benefit me.
Yeah.
But it doesn't benefit anybody.
At the heart, that's what it was going for.
Yeah.
I did watch the show. It's a British show, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Used to come on BBC America. It was okay. It wasn't a great show. I wasn't a huge fan of it.
Yeah.
But this game is just a horrible implementation of what that show is.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't blame you. We didn't have fun playing it. And it was also, it was a deck of cards and some mats in a big box.
Yeah.
Who knew? But that's fine. Let's go to Minerva now.
Another game that I know nothing about. It was printed in 2015. It's actually relatively highly ranked on BGG. It's at 2,450. When there's several 10,000 or some more games that are on here.
Right.
It's pretty decent. So the Roman Empire, an empire so large and powerful its fame remains still today. In order to keep its vast territories under control, the Roman Empire sent out state managers to exercise its policies. The players are one of these managers, in charge of one of the Roman cities, aiming to become prosperous and important city like Rome, the glorious capital. Only the player who develops the city best will earn the favor of the goddess Minerva and win the game. The player who has the most victory points at the end of the game wins. To get the victory points, the players need to build military facilities to earn military fame, develop cultural facilities to assist cultural activities, and construct temples and lay out the city so that it is worthy of its temples. But all these require resources and gold, and only building impressive buildings won't get any far without inhabitants. The players will have to build living quarters so that other buildings can have an effect.
Yeah. Seems interesting. This looks very similar to something, and maybe I'm just assuming it, but this seems very similar to Palaces of the Mad King Ludwig.
In a sense,
the one
yeah,
with the square
I
tiles.
get what you're saying there, the way you have to put these tiles and you want them to build off each other. Interesting thing about this is another one of those Japan brand or Akusa brand games that they brought over from Japan from Hisashi Hayashi.
Yeah. So there you go, working with the same Okazu brand. So this looks interesting. I would definitely want to try it.
Yeah, I kind of want to try this one out. It looks interesting.
Cool. All right. That was Minerva.
And now to the worst name board game.
Yeah. Okay. So you could have either pulled up the game, or I pulled up the Game on Fire because it just has like a small little set of cards that are different. So
I pulled up the game.
Yeah. I do want you to try this because and Pandasaurus is, I think, coming out pretty soon with another, like a minier version, like the game ultra fast version or whatever it's called. But
there's the Game Extreme.
No, it's the Mind Extreme.
No, it literally says re-implemented by the Game Extreme.
Oh, well then, yeah. So, oh no, because I have the Game Extreme up. Yeah, okay, I get you. So the game is very simple. You have a deck of cards that is numbered between 2 and 99. There's one of each number. You also have 4 cards that are laying out in 4 different piles. 2 of them that have the numbers 100 and the arrow down, or I'm sorry, 99 and the arrow down, and 2 of them that have the numbers 1 and an arrow up. Excuse me, I have a sneeze that's like lingering right there. The idea of the game is very simple. You're just trying to play cards that follow that pattern. Meaning, if I play it next to the 1, every card after that has to be a higher number. So if I play a 50, then Daniel here would have to play a 51 or higher on that pile. Which eventually we start running into a corner pretty fast, because there's only so much we can do for that. However, if you have a card that is exactly 10 less than the number, so if I play 50, you could play one that is 10 less. So you could play the 40, and then you could play the 30, and you can kind of rewind each of the piles in that way. The goal is just to play all the cards. It's a very simple concept. It was nominated for the Spiel des Jahres. I can see why. I really think that this is just a fun co-op game. But yeah, I like the mess out of it.
Looks interesting. Horrible name.
Yeah, it is. It was for that first year when I heard about it being nominated with the Spiel des Jahres. It was so hard to find anywhere. Just searching the game, the card game, the game card game. I had no way to actually find it until it came over, and now it's being sold at like Target. The other cover.
Yeah.
The non-creepy skull cover.
Yeah. So, yeah, I have no problem trying it. It sounds better than one of the other games we're going to talk about on this list, and you know my passion for that game.
Yeah. Oh, so speaking of the fast version, the one that I saw, it was on Board Game Geek, the game night episode, and the other version of it, the newer version, has 52 cards. And you just have the numbers 1 through 10, and you have 2 of the cards are 10 down and 1 up. Okay, so you still have to play in that same way. I'm sorry, or 0 up and 11 down, something like that. Either way, but you have the numbers 1 through 10 of each of those numbers, and they're in 5 different colors. And so you must follow the direction of them, but you can play any color, any number on top of any color. So if I have blue, like a 5, and it's supposed to go up, I can go down if I want. Very simple change, but I think it actually will probably make it quite a bit better.
Huh.
Yeah. Anyway.
Not bad. So the next game on our list is one we're not actually sure if it's a Pandasaurus game or not. I know you were saying you thought it was Renegade that did this one.
Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah, Renegade.
But it's listed under Pandasaurus for some reason, and that is Cat Tower.
Yeah. So let's just
know
very
nothing
briefly
about this game. I've seen it, I've looked at it, and go, nope, not for me. So the description says, meow, it looks so delicious. Catty Fatty stares at the dried fish hung high on the shelf, drooling. All cats are attracted, wondering how they can reach the yummy fish beyond their leap. They come up with the idea of stacking on each other's back to grab the fish. Let's help them make a tower of cats. 7 cat cards are dealt to each player. The game starts with the player who owns the most cats. In clockwise order, each player takes a turn to roll the die and acts according to the image shown on the die result. The game ends immediately when one player gets rid of all their cat cards in hand. It integrates with Cat Tower Lite and Cat Tower Plus.
Of course it does. Yeah, this is like a bad version of Rhino Hero. Because Rhino Hero, you stack the cards sideways, and they're structurally really good. This, you fold them in kind of like a C shape, and you put the C shape facing down. So as soon as there's too much pressure on it, it just falls open. It's pointless.
It looks so dumb, honestly.
I mean, like, and I'm not knocking it just because of the theme. Although that was definitely a factor in why I didn't want to try it in the first place. The problem with this game is, why have a cat theme that doesn't make sense and just functionally not very good?
Well, yeah, the functionality of it just doesn't look good. If I'm going to play a game that's similar to this, I'll just pull out Rhino Hero. Rhino Hero is actually fun. This looks, again, it's going to be my argument for another game, like just an activity. You roll a dice and you stack a card.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's it.
At least with Rhino Hero, you're forcing the other player to do something.
Yeah. And yeah, you can see right here, official website, IDW Games, but pre-order Cat Tower, RenegadeGames.com. Those are official links from the Board Game Geek page. I mean, now I think it's just Renegade or just IDW. I might be wrong. I don't know. I didn't like it personally.
I never played it because, again, I saw it at the shop and I was like, yeah, that's not going to get me to play it.
Right. All right.
And I don't have the issue like that you do with cats. I don't mind them. I'm just allergic to them.
Yeah. Yeah, you just you need to get a hairless cat.
They still carry dander.
That's true. Awesome Kingdom, the Tower of Hate Skull, and there was a sequel to this as well. But what really brought this up interesting to me is because it's a single card game that has some small cards and some tokens in a box this big. No, I'm just kidding. The big thing about this game is that it's from Kevin Wilson, which I like Kevin Wilson's designs quite a bit. He makes some really good stuff. Maybe we should see about getting him on an episode. That would be great. So, Awesome Kingdom is a fairly simple game where you are basically moving your pieces. You play cards to let you move your pieces in a clockwise or counterclockwise way. The card that you land on is the card you take, and you're trying to get points from those cards. It's a fairly simple one. It says it's a lightweight and fast and funny dungeon crawling game in which players compete to be the most awesome hero after 3 days of adventuring. It's not joking. It's super fast. It's like a 10-minute game. It's not unfun. It is fun because each day lasts 3 turns. So you're playing 9 turns and then the game is done. That's it. So I don't own it anymore. I used to own it. I would not be against suggesting this to people who want like a really quick, fairly light game to play with their family.
Wow, Kevin Wilson. I went ahead and looked him up to see what games he was been tied to.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No,
he does a lot of work with Fantasy Flight, of course.
Yes. Yeah.
He's got some big name games here.
Yep. He was I mean, he worked with Ninja Turtles, and so a funny story about we're not going to talk about it for Pandasaurus, but when we went to IDW's booth at Gamma one year, they had Kevin Wilson and Kevin Eastman sitting next to each other for the Ninja Turtles game release when IDW did that, and there was a line about a mile long going up to Kevin Eastman wanting him to get autographs and sign like special covers of Ninja Turtle episode, and I was
so for the people that don't know, Kevin Eastman is the creator of the Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
He was one of the original, if not the original creator, who doesn't have the license to Ninja Turtles anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Can't make money off of it.
Which is crazy, right? I mean, other than his like little side gigs and whatever, but no, it was funny because I approached Kevin Wilson because I was aware of his games prior to that, and I was like the only one in the line at the time which he was sitting right next to Kevin Eastman, and I was like, I don't really, I like Ninja Turtles the video game, it's fun, but I don't care. But Kevin Wilson, let me talk to him. And me and him got to chat for like a good 10 minutes, and he was like, wow, like, hey, like, thanks for coming to talk to me, He was a really neat guy. So maybe we should contact him. That wouldn't be a bad idea.
I mean, it wouldn't. We'd be talking for like 6 hours of as many games he's been tied to.
Right, exactly. Oh man, yeah, that's fine though. We've done longer episodes for sure.
Yeah,
more,
says you.
More work
You're
for
not
you.
The one that has to edit everything.
True, more work for you. So let's do it.
So the next game on our list is Starfall. Astronomers use their telescopes to identify the most elaborate formations in the sky. Interesting. The designer is called Alms.
Yes.
Do we know who that is?
Oh yeah, the Tiny Epic guy. No, and of course he's made so many games with and without Gamelin, like Martian Dice, Epic Backyard Treehouse. Like
he doesn't necessarily make all Tiny Epic games. In fact, one of his big games with Gamelins is that area control game that the name is escaping me right now. Land, Air, and Sea. I think it's what it's called.
Oh, Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the way they describe Starfall on here is the night is still, cloudless, and dark. An oasis of interstellar magic lies beyond the stratosphere. Countless stars, burning comets, planets, ivory moons, nebulae, and perhaps even beastly black hole or two. And I'll get to something on that up in a minute. It's all up here in the findings at the Royal Hinterland Observatory. Endless elaborate sky formations are within reach of discovery, but yet to lay claim before your fellow Chandras nab of the glory for themselves. Starfall is a clever game of wits, hitting, and quick thinking, the aim is to obtain the most impressive portfolio of cosmic curiosities. Know nothing about this game. The mechanisms do not intrigue me at all.
What do you think about the look of the game? Go ahead and pull up the picture of like the board setup.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at it right now. I like the way it looks, the setup.
Okay. Yeah, there's something off-putting
it's intriguing
to me about
on that. It's just I'm not a big fan of auction or bidding games. You know this.
That's true. Yeah, I know you're not. Even less so than like almost social deduction. Almost.
Yeah. Almost. I think social deduction is probably one of my least favorite games.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But the board is interesting, especially how you put the things into the board, like the celestial bodies and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's intrigued me. And the reason why I said, let me go back to the black hole thing here in a minute. Did you see the most recent photos that they're releasing now where it looks like they saw the gravitational pulls of how they affect the area, because it looked like either two black holes were merging or if it was pulling a star in or something like that, but just the way the gravity was pulling the galaxy around it between a black hole and some other celestial body that they can't understand just yet?
No, I haven't. That sounds awesome, though.
Oh, it was pretty neat. So I saw that and I was like, oh, wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. That's worth looking into for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, well, that's my Google after this. So Starfall, that was cool.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Why don't you take Wasteland?
Wasteland Express Delivery Service. Survive the Wasteland as drivers from the last delivery company on Earth. And what's interesting about this is that one of the designers on here is Jonathan Gilmour. You would know him from games like Dead of Winter.
Dead of Winter, yeah.
Yeah, so he's really into the post-apocalyptic setting here.
Right.
So I actually really do enjoy Wasteland. It's probably my favorite implementation of a worker placement, pick up and deliver game, where you're fighting factions, you're trying to outlast the other delivery drivers and win the most, finish the most contracts. I think you have to finish 3 contracts to win the game. So Matt Riddle was another one that was on this. He did Fleet in Morocco, and Ben Pinchback, who also did Fleet in Morocco. So you take on your half-insane drivers. You all have like special abilities. You're trying to fulfill, and I think the reason why I really enjoy this for a pick up and deliver is it because it has a market that changes as you go along. So if I deliver water, I get paid what the demand was, but it actually lowers the demand for water, and so it doesn't increase until something else comes out, and there's more of a demand for it. So I love the fact that the supply and demand is changing as you're playing. I wish I saw that more in Pick Up and Delivers because it works.
Yeah, it really does.
I do like it. It's fun. I know you're not a huge fan of this.
No, I'm not.
There's a lot going on. It's a bit hard to get because there's so many going on. You can also fight and steal the resources from the bandit clan. You're trying to get like nuclear missiles across to one bandit clan to the other. There's just different things you can do. Beautifully implemented, great artwork, great pieces, and I love how simple it is to set this game up because of the game trays in it.
Yeah.
I know you're not a fan, but yeah, no, this is my favorite Pick Up and Deliver game.
If I had to say one good thing about it, I mean, the production quality is really top notch. I mean, that the tray is the trays are really nice. The pieces are really cool. I dig the art a lot. It's really neat and it's pretty well laid out. Yeah, I just didn't like the game. That's all.
That's because it's got too much theme for you.
No, don't go there. You forget I can mute you. All right, Red Scare is our next one, which this is Pandasaurus. I believe I had a very quick chance to play this one. Let me look at the pictures because no, I haven't. Yes, okay. So now is when we're going to start. I pulled up a completely new window. Now is when we're going to start talking about how Pandasaurus really does like to start pressing or pushing forward the progression of unique components. And so, this one, Red Scare, the threat of communist infiltration is at an all-time high, and red panic is everywhere. It's on you, trusted patriots of the FBI, to scour the files and of any and all that may be promoting the Soviet agenda and threatening these sacred shores. The nation trusts you to detect, then publicly accuse and deport these traitors. But watch out, because double agents are everywhere. Even your closest colleagues are not to be trusted. Perhaps even you have something to hide. It's a social deduction game, hidden role.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And there is negotiation. But look at this. The components include decoder glasses that basically are a red filament, and certain cards have hidden information on them that you would only be able to see with those cards. I think that's phenomenal. I think that's just awesome. That really does kind of prove the point that I'm making, is that's unlike almost any other game. That red overlay that you're going to get on these games is really, really impactful as far as the game goes. I haven't played this yet. I don't know if it's something that I would enjoy or even that Daniel might enjoy. I doubt it. But yeah, I mean, just being honest with you, I doubt it really is just a straight up social deduction game. But that gimmick of the glasses being implemented, that's really neat.
I mean, don't get me wrong, that's pretty cool, but I just, like I said, social deduction probably has to be one of my least favorite, if not my least favorite, mechanism.
Sure, yeah, I get that. Yeah, but these glasses are kind of a prelude to something that we're going to see later on, too, in another game that they use special glasses for. So
I do have to say about this, that you were talking about how like something different. I think a good implementation of how those filters work is in Decrypto, where there's hidden information and you're using the filter to actually get the words to come out and stuff like that.
Yeah. Decrypto, that's more of an aesthetic thing. Like, it could have been done with just drawing cards anyway.
Yeah, no, I understand, but I say that's I just like the uniqueness of it. But yeah, we're gonna get into the glasses that are, and I still haven't tried it. And I really want to try that game. Not this one, the one we're talking about with the other glasses.
Oh yes, okay, yes, I will definitely bring it over sometime.
So the next game on my list is King's Life.
Yeah,
which is re-implements Smiley Face.
Oh yes, okay. I've heard of Smiley Face before. It's a Bruno Faiduti game.
Yeah, and this one also has Gwenelle Boquin as the other designer. Bruno Faiduti. 4 to 8 players, 20 to 30 minutes. The king just wants to have fun. It's Monday in a king's life, and labor's kingly duties have made for one irritable monarch. Good thing our fair ruler devotes every other day of the week to kingly delights. Come Tuesday, it's up to the courtiers, you fair players, to pull His Highness out of his fun. Each day left in the week brings different demands: a hunt, a feast, a tourney, a ball. The cunning courtier that can tickle the tyrant's fancy with his or own grand plan will be in the king's good graces and enjoy a coveted seat on the royal council. King's Life is a zany game of alliances and wit by Bruno Faduti, Citadels, Ink and Gold, and Gwenin Bakwin for up to 8 eager players. Clocks in at just about 30 minutes, enter this wacky world, and get lost in the pomp and splendor befitting of only a king.
Yeah.
Ha!
Yeah, this one looks cool. Judging by the images, I don't know how many are out yet. I mean, yes, technically it's from 2016 or 2017, but there's only 5 comments and 23 ratings. It's a pretty small release as far as I can tell.
But it also could be just one of those games that got lost in the shuffle too.
Sure, yeah. I pulled up Smiley Face as well. It was originally from Fantasy Flight Games, and yeah, it looks fun.
I don't know how I feel about this.
About
the
Smiley
art
Face?
is gorgeous. It's fun. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's worth looking into. I would play it for sure. It's Bruno Faiduti, of course. I would play it. I like his stuff.
I think this is probably the next one coming up is my second favorite Pandasaurus game. I actually own 2, and both of them are behind me.
Well, then take it away, sir. Go for it.
Dinosaur Island. Research DNA to bring prehistoric reptiles to life. Another game by Jonathan Gilmour, from Dead of Winter and Wasteland Delivery, as we talked about earlier. Dinosaur Island player. Dinosaur Island. I'm just going to say it right here, right now. It's Jurassic Park without the title. Because you're collecting DNA, you're researching the DNA sequences of extinct dinosaur species to combine that DNA into a correct sequence to bring those prehistoric creatures back to life. You're basically dino cooking. All players will compete to build the most thrilling park each season, and then work to attract and keep alive the most visitors each season that park is open. Do you go big and create a pack of velociraptors? They'll definitely excite potential visitors, but make a large enough enclosure for them, and maybe hire some a lot of security, or they will break out and start eating your visitors. We know how that ends. You can play it safe and grow a bunch of herbivores, but then you aren't going to have the most exciting park in the world. Sad face. So maybe buy a roller coaster or 2 to attract visitors to your park the good old-fashioned way. I love this game. It's funny. This makes it sound a little bit simpler. It's not. This is a game that plays in 5 phases. It's a worker placement game where you're working here, you're trying to get your sequence, you're trying to build your dinosaurs, you're trying to build your park, but you're trying to keep your security up. This way your people don't get eaten. I dig this game. I love this game. It's a fun worker placement. It's a bit of a chore. I'm not gonna lie. This game, 90 to 120 minutes. Realistically, look more at the 120-minute mark, unless you guys are really, really hardcore worker placement gamers. This thing, and it's got a complexity of a 3 out of 5, so that tells you. So it's awarded nominations were, it was the 2018 Cardboard Republic Architect Laurel nominee, the 2017 Meeple's Choice nominee, the 2017 Golden Geek Board Game of the Year nominee, Best Thematic Game of the Year nominee, Best Strategy Game of the Year nominee, and the Golden Geek Best Board Game Artwork and Presentation nominee. Didn't win anything, but man, do I love this game. And if you go to the 3rd or 4th, actually, go to the 4th picture.
The 4th picture, okay. Let's see here. That was almost the one I had. We are loading on
that
this
is
end.
Pretty much everything that comes in that one box. Remember when I was telling you about the insert and how nothing fits in there? It's because all of that comes in one box.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you lay it out like that, it's just...
But I do dig this game. It's a very fun game. It's probably one of my favorite worker placements, probably in my top 5 of worker placements itself. And I love the colors of it. I love the fact they went with like that 80s neon feel with this kind of game, especially with the expansion, Totally Liquid expansion, whereas they really up the 80s feel of it. I don't own the expansion. I know a friend who does, and I haven't played it yet. But we're going to talk about another reimplementation later of this, which is kind of neat.
All right, cool. Our next one is Coaster Park, which the cover makes you think Coaster Park.
Wow, this game is not loved on BGG.
No, it's really quite disliked. Designer Scott Almes. So the component quality is phenomenal. The pieces themselves are really fun. It's just it was a really expensive game because of the production quality that they put into it, and it was a very simple like bidding game where basically you just take the pieces that you want and you build a coaster. But the catch is that coaster does have to have a marble roll through it and does have to work in order for it to count. Which this goes into that whole idea that I've been talking about this whole time. This is an example of Pandasaurus is not scared to try something brand new. They're really not. This has never been done before, and most of the time this was just a fun toy to play with. But
yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's what I've heard about this game, is that people just like getting it to build their own roller coaster just to play with it and see how the marble works with the reaction. They don't even want to play the actual game part of it with the bidding and the stuff like that. They just want to build cool roller coasters with the pieces.
Yeah, exactly. But honestly, like just the friction that the marble had on the cardboard, it would work most of the time, but the problem is it would only go over one, maybe two hills. Because it didn't have quite that same physics that you would like. Yeah, in the picture that I have, it would only go over if it did the loop, might go over that yellow hill, but it would definitely stop there. Anything bigger after that, no way.
I think the big problem with this one is, again, this is a game that was already expensive to begin with, and it needed to be more expensive for you to get the marble to work the way. This has to be plastic pieces. Cardboard just doesn't work properly for what you're trying to do.
Yeah, which I don't disagree. But yeah, man, that's some really rough reviews. Overall rank 19,000. I mean, like
it's
I said,
sitting at a 3.6 on BGG.
Yeah.
Which, for me, anything above a 6 is something to look into because the way people rate it. But anything under a 5 and a 4 tells you that people are just not loving it. It's got 288 ratings.
Yeah. Yep. So need we say more? That kind of does describe how rough that game has been. Oh well, what can you do though?
So next game on our list is Pastali. Came out, it's saying 2018 here. Designer is Masaki Suga. Again, another one of those Eastern games that their Pandasaurus has been bringing over. They're one of the, so you could say Rio Grande Games is one of the first ones that started bringing European games over. I have to say Pandasaurus is probably, them and Renegade are probably the big two that bring over Eastern games, such as from Japan or Korea and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah.
And Pastelli, you take turns AEG placing tiles too. On a game. Go ahead.
AEG brings over a lot of from Japan.
Yeah, AEG is another one too, because Space isn't. No, that's John D. Clark. Never mind.
Yeah, but a lot of theirs, they had a Big in Japan series.
Yeah, Pastelli, you take turns placing tiles on the game board to create a line connecting your player markers. The more tiles the line passes through, the higher those tiles are stacked, the more points you score. It seems interesting. It's a very colorful game. It just, to me, it feels too at what is an abstract strategy. I'm not a fan of abstract strategy, but what I like about this as an abstract strategy, it goes away from the stupid black and white. There's color in this one.
Which I don't think the colors matter. I think that's just individual player pieces, but
yeah, but still.
Or maybe I can tell by the board that the colors themselves are what pattern are on the tile.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I have to say, I never played this. I looked at it. I've seen it. I think I could have bought a really cheap version of it a couple years ago at I think it's Ross or Marshall's, one of the two stores. It was during like their Christmas when they were selling a lot of the board games at a really cheap price. It's not something I think would go down in my game group. You probably be the only other person I think might like it.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. I probably would be the only other one who would really enjoy it as much as anybody else. That sounds cool, though.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. And again, like you were saying, AEG was a big one about bringing a lot of it, too. So,
yeah.
Walking in Burano or Hanakoji.
Hanamakoji, yeah.
All right, so the next one on our list here is the one
Yes.
I've been talking about, the glasses that I want to try.
Yes, so...
I find a uniqueness about this game.
Yeah, exactly. There's two versions. There's Vampire Encounter and Nyctophobia, the base game. I'm going to talk about just the base game, but know that they're just basically two versions of the same one. This game has a very interesting backstory, but essentially what you are trying to do is one player is the bad guy, basically, that's hunting everybody. The catch is the bad guy cannot directly capture any player because he can see everything on the board. Everybody else, they can't see the board at all. They have to just memorize. So the bad guy, what is the name of the character? It's a maniacal predator. Yeah. So they're actually moving the hands of the other players so that way they can feel what's immediately adjacent to them. What makes this game so interesting is Catherine Stipple, the designer of it, designed this game so that her uncle, I believe, who was blind, could actually play a game and have just as much of a chance as anybody else. So basically, you make up a maze, everybody puts on the blackout glasses so they can't see through them, and everybody is just trying to find their way to the car and escape in one of the versions. So what happens is, the bad guy that I was telling you about, you can't capture one of the players. However, if you're right next to the player and they choose to move into your spot, that's how you damage them. It is super neat. Yeah, so because that would be too much of an advantage towards the other player. Now, it's a pretty unbalanced game, but man, is it tense though.
Looks good. Interesting. I do like the fact that she created it this way. Her blind uncle can play a board game with the family, and it's so innovative that it was nominated for the 2018 Golden Geek Most Innovative Board Game.
Absolutely, yeah. This was definitely one of those incredibly innovative games. It really was. It was so neat. The game itself is pretty good. Like, it is enjoyable. What makes it really fun is how tense it is, because you have to move through this forest that you don't know anything about. You don't want to. Because you sometimes you hear people move pieces from one spot to another. You get nervous. You're like, oh man, like I know he's like right next to me, because there's like sound tokens and different things that you can hear. You could throw rocks in directions and potentially hit things. Like it's super fun. I can't wait to show you this.
Yeah, I know. I've been wanting to try it. Unfortunately, the next game on the list is
The Mind. Do you want me to take this one?
Yeah. Okay. To me, it's not a game; it's an activity.
Gotcha. I get it. Yeah. The Mind. So The Mind is a very simple cooperative game where players are trying to play the numbers 1 through 100 in order, in ascending order. The way it works is that players are dealt a number of cards depending on what level they are. So if it's level 1, every player gets 1 card. And you cannot communicate in any way. You just have to know when to play the card. And basically read the body signals of other players, or just figure out the timing involved in it. What makes this interesting is that conveying information without being able to like use body language of what card you have is very interesting. So like if I have a 98, I'm going to be waiting around for a long time. But there's a chance that somebody might have a 99 or the 100. It's a very simple game. Every time you play a card incorrectly, you just lose a life, and there's ways throughout the levels to regain lives. And there's also the shuriken cards, where everybody can agree to play a shuriken card, and then you immediately play your lowest valued card, which will give information as to what you have in your hand. Same with like a lower number. If I have like a 3, I'm going to play it fast, but not so fast that the player who has a 1 and a 2 can't play it if there is one out there. I like it a lot. I think this is a really fun game. It's gone over really well, except
Activity.
for... No, there's a win state, so it's a game.
Activity.
It's not an activity. It's a win. There's a win state. It is defined as a game.
Activity.
It's more of a game than most things
Hold
that
on,
we
it
call
sounds like we're
games.
having a little bit of technical difficulties.
Okay.
One second, you're breaking up really bad. Hold on.
Okay.
All right, looks like you're clearing up. I can hear you now. I know you're arguing that it's a game. It's an activity.
No, no, no. The definition of a game means that it has to have a win state. It's an activity with a win or lose state. This does. I know you don't like it because it's a very loose game, but it is a game. It is not just an activity. Because there is a, like, for example, a jigsaw puzzle is not a game because there's not a win or lose state.
Hold on. I think we just lost stream. Oh, wait. Well, my TV that I was using went blank for a minute, so give us a quick sec. We're troubleshooting real quick.
Okay, so we'll just make note of this, and we will check the stream later on.
Okay, it looks like everything looks fine.
Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, if that sounds like a game that
because it just all of a sudden it just went blank and then came back up, so I was confused at a moment.
Okay.
But no, it's an activity.
I would suggest this game to people who play stuff like Bridge, who really understand how to read other people's plays and how to do it. Then that's who I would go with to recommend this game.
Check your internet status right now because you're breaking up really bad. It looks mine's doing pretty good. So
okay. I mean, it still says unstable, but
because you're buffering and giving me that mechanical.
Yeah,
sound.
we're at we're in green right now.
Huh, it's weird.
Okay.
I don't know why it's acting up right now, but let's move on.
All right, sounds good.
That was the mine.
Okay.
So next up on my list is another Wolfgang War card game called Illusion.
Mm-hmm.
A game where you put your color perception to the test. Another game I don't like, but for different reasons. This one is just a lot harder for me because of the color issue. I'm colorblind. You are as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd rather play this, even though I struggle with it, than the Mind.
Yeah, I mean, the colors are so...
Can you trust your eyes?
What's that?
No, it says, can you trust your eyes? How much color do you really see?
Can you trust your eyes?
These questions are what drive the gameplay in Illusion, with rules that allow for gameplay to start immediately. Who has the right perspective not to be fooled?
Yeah, the colors I feel are bright enough that it's a lot easier than most would think, because they're all also a different tint as well.
No. Yeah, so the big part of it, you and me are both red-green colorblind.
Yeah.
Big problem we have with a lot of games is the red and the green tend to be at the same hue.
Yes.
When it's that way, we have a hard time of seeing it. The way they did this one is that the red is really bright and the green is a little more muted, makes it easier for us to see. Yes,
exactly. Yeah. So it's not a complete disadvantage for us, which, I mean...
Yeah.
Where normal games would be. So the fact that they implemented it that well, I appreciate. And it's just such a weird game that I really like it. Because
it really is.
It really is like an optical illusion, and I love optical illusions. Those are some of my favorite things in the world.
This is a game. The Mind is an activity. And what I find funny is the Mind blew up, is well loved, and this is a better game.
I mean, it's less polarizing, I'll give you that. I don't see the same love for this as I do for the people who love the Mind.
For me, I would use the Mind for kindling.
Hate.
This game I would actually play.
Dom has gotten to you, I'm sure. Because he's the same way. He just refused to play it. So that was Illusion. Let's go to Duelosaur Island.
So Duelosaur Island is the two-player implementation of Dinosaur Island, which has an I-cut, you choose a mechanism in it. And I dig this. I've actually played this one. I played Dinosaur Island. I own Dinosaur Island because two-player games just don't get to my table like they should. Duelosaur Island is built around a clever hand management mechanism. Each card in the game serves 3 potential purposes. They contain the DNA sequence for dinosaurs you could create, the blueprints for attractions you can build, and certain actions that you can take by discarding them. Do you create the dinosaur on top of the card to attract guests to your park, or do you build the attraction at the bottom of the card, which can add a player's hand limit, income, in-game victory points, yada, yada, yada? Or do you discard the card to combine DNA towards creating another dinosaur? Duelosaur Island comes with 5 new full-color DNA dice. You can mix and match dice between Dinosaur Island and Duelosaur Island for even more variability in both games, such as the new security symbol that can appear on dice to upgrade your security level instantly. Interesting game. Love. It doesn't really say the I split you choose management, but that's how it really works. And you're trying to be smart of what you're getting and trying to increase it. I really dug this one, and it gives you the same Dinosaur Island feel in such a short amount of time.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to try this. This is up there, but I almost wonder...
We need you to try Dinosaur Island.
Yeah, so in your honest opinion, knowing what kind of games I like, think about this. Do you think I would like Dinosaur Island?
I think you'll like what Dinosaur Island does. I think you'll like the mechanisms in it and how it works. Don't know if you'll like the overall game.
Okay.
I think you're going to be like, okay, I like what it's trying to do, but I don't know. It's too thematic, I think.
Too thematic? Yeah. No, hold on now. This isn't a top 8 debate. This isn't like, disproving each other. Too thematic. Let it go, man. I have a whole shelf of theme games behind me.
They have Euro mechanisms that you prefer.
Yeah, because those are actually done well. I mean, I like it to have like not just roll a random die and hope for the best. That Ameritrash games doesn't necessarily mean that they're more thematic. That just means that they have less garbage mechanisms. That Euro games have good mechanisms, but then Eurotrash, as you call them, I have plenty of those that have a storyline and theme. I have time stories, for goodness sakes. That is theme. Because it's definitely not holding its own on mechanisms. No, it's not. That's just roll for success. That's all it is. And I love the story behind it. So don't even give me that. There's too much theme. How dare you, sir? The line that I draw is the game, are the mechanisms good enough for me to enjoy regardless of the theme? So would I enjoy the mechanisms
I like
in
the
this
mechanisms in it. I think you'll be fine with them. It's just that I think that since there's so many phases, you might be overwhelmed, kind of like you were with where's the game we played? Res Arcana. A lot of iconography like Res Arcana too.
Yeah, well, see, here's the thing though. Res Arcana, I would definitely play
Are you
again.
there?
Yeah, I'm here. I could definitely play it again. I didn't dislike Res Arcana. It just took me a minute to get the hang of it. That's all it was. And by that time, I was pretty close to winning. I was like 1, maybe 2 turns away. It wasn't bad. The problem with
Yeah, except for you got last place.
Which is fine. Like, I mean, I would still play it again. That's the problem. I didn't dislike the game. Whereas if we're playing something like oh god, what's one that I can say a good example? Arkham Horror. Like, most of that is roll for success. Like, I just that's not worth, the theme isn't enough for me to enjoy that. Whereas, like, say Here Kitty Kitty from Fireside, the mechanisms are fun enough where I can deal with the theme. It doesn't matter what the theme is. I enjoy the game enough. So don't give me too much theme crap.
Yeah, there's too much theme in it.
Alright. Well, there's too much good game in all the other ones, which is why you don't like it. Like the Mind. It's too good of a game. That's why you don't like it.
That
it's a
is
good game.
not a game.
No.
That is an activity.
It's too...
Again,
the game is too
it's a
smart.
good
That's why you don't
fire
like it.
starter. That's what the Mind should be used for.
No, that's why you don't like it. It's too good of a game. Alright, so Ariel is our next one. This is turning into a top 8 debate. This is absurd. Ariel, published by Pandasaurus and Meebo Games, which I'm not familiar with Meebo Games, but let's find out. Ariel is the name given to a traditional Portuguese summer celebrations during which people take to the streets eating, drinking, and having fun in the old neighborhoods that are bedecked with arches, colorful balloons, popular music, and the aroma of sweet basil. Man, I am missing these right now. In the game Ariel, players try to make their neighborhood traditional event the most popular by attracting visitors to their celebration. Grab the most beautiful decorations, hire the most inspired performers, and serve the most traditional delicacies. Take to the streets and host the party of the year. RL is a fast-paced game in which players take turns spending action points to get the best tiles, decorations, artists, etc., and place them on their boards to form the perfect match and attract visitors to their party. In the end, whoever attracts the most visitors into their neighborhood wins. This is a polyomino game where...
Yep, I was just looking at it.
Yep, each of the polyominoes into your... I think it works essentially like Tetris. I believe you have to bring them in from the top and load them in. If I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong. I love the art on this. I think that's... I really like the art that's on the tiles. What are your thoughts on that?
Doesn't look too bad. It looks interesting. I wouldn't mind trying it. It's better than the game you've been arguing.
Shush. Let it go.
This actually has a game component to it.
All right, we're gonna end this here. This is done. Oh, Daniel. All right. So Ariel, I don't know. I've been wanting to try it. I heard about it. I saw it at Gamma a couple years ago, the first one in Reno, and it looked neat. But I never got a chance to play it. But it does look...
Yeah, no.
I like the premise.
It's been on my radar. I haven't been able to see it. I've never seen it in shops. I mean, I could probably find it online, but it's never popped up anywhere.
Yeah. It's $36 on Amazon, so there you go.
Next up on our list is Wayfinders.
Mm-hmm.
This is a game by Thomas Dagnes L'Esperance. In Wayfinders, engine purring, goggles down, the seaplane is set for takeoff. Welcome to the whimsical, I can't say that word for some reason, world of Wayfinders in which intrepid explorers race to chart new paths through the sky. You'll need to think on your feet and outfit your planes with the right gear to arrive safely. But building hangars on islands and stocking them with parts can help you zip around with ease. Be sure to be keen in your planning, and you'll unlock the charm of the islands. Wheels up, adventure awaits.
Very cool.
So to me, it says the mechanism here is a modular board. Your network and route building. That's what I was going to say. It sounds like a network route building type game. Point-to-point movement, push your luck, and worker placement. Looks good. Looks like a really gorgeous cover. And looking at some of the boards and the tiles placement and stuff like that looks quite interesting. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the pieces alone, this gets me excited. I do want to try this already, just by how it looks. I love the tokens that they made. Those are clearly plastic tokens. Plastic meeples.
For me, and the problem where it gets lost on me is that as much as this looks cool, there's a new one that just came out by Prospero Hall that's higher on my list that I want to try.
Are you talking Pan Am? Yeah. I mean, this looks less like less like a stock mechanism, and more of just like an area majority.
Yeah, I like the blending of the stock mechanism with the route building that Pan Am does, compared to just the exploration and route building that this one does.
Yeah, and this is a perfect example of the graphic designer that we were talking about earlier, because holy cow, this is a stunning looking game.
Oh, beautiful. The artist says here is Michael Parla.
Michael Parla, wow. Yeah, I'm curious to see if they've done any others. I'm going to load it up for later, but yeah, that's interesting.
It looks good. It's got a decent rating on BGG. I think, again, a lot of this is that since they pump out a lot of games, and that's kind of what AEG went through back in the day, is that you're pumping out so many games that games tend to get lost in the shuffle. So yeah. I've heard of this. I remember when it came out, and then I forgot about it until now.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing. The exact same thing. Cool. Let's look at the next one, which
my favorite card game on this list.
Yes. Yeah, so this is a roll and write card game by Phil Walker Harding, silver and gold. And this, we've said it before.
Flip and write.
Same thing.
It says flip cards, complete islands, and score points in this flip and write.
I like how, I like the description that flip and fill is one that I've heard, but my favorite version of that is how Steve Jackson says it. It's a draw and draw game. Draw a card and draw on the board. Yeah, no, this is a super cool game. Basically, you're just filling out maps it's very simple, but the cards are dry erase, which once again proves the components part of what I was saying. You know, the
thing is,
draw...
it comes with those cards that can be written on, and it comes with the markers in the game.
Yep. And it's
my only problem, it doesn't give you an eraser.
Yes, yeah, I know, but it gives you enough space in the game box where you could put a microfiber cloth, so that's cool, I guess. I'll probably end up buying one of these days. But yeah, this game is super cool. You're filling out the maps for how many points that they're worth. If you mark an X, then you get to put an X somewhere else on one of your 2 cards. If you fill in a coin, then you get to get coin tokens, and those will matter for trophies later on, which is a timing thing. And if you fill in a palm tree, you get points for that and all the other palm trees that are in the market.
Here's my favorite thing about this is you got this, you're like, hey, it's a Phil Walker Harding game, let me show it to you. I ended up buying it that day. You showed it to 2 other people, they ended up buying it.
You went to another state to buy it. Need we say more? You went to a different state, almost a different time zone, to buy this game that day.
What do you mean almost a different time zone? It's not.
It's right on the edge. Yeah, once you get past El Paso, it's central. It is.
When you get to Van Horn, which is an hour and a half out of El Paso.
No. It's right on the edge of El Paso. Yeah, we'll look at a map later. Anyway, silver and gold.
I've driven to Van Horn many of times.
Congratulations. Anyway, silver and gold. Yeah, it's a phenomenal game. It's probably my favorite Pandasaurus game. I really did like Machikoro, but this is probably replacing it for me.
And I think the reason being for Machikoro getting replaced with this this one's good too, but you have another game that replaced Machikoro for you as well, in Space Base.
True. Yeah, that's true.
So I dig this game. It's top 3 of my favorite Pandasaurus games. I could see it moving over like Dinosaur Island. I still prefer Wasteland Delivery. I know how much you hate it, but that's beside the point.
It's because it's not a good game.
It's too thematic for you.
Yeah, there's no game in it. That's why you like it. That's gonna be the new thing.
There's a lot of game in it. You just don't like the game in it.
Yeah, you take like 4 hours to get a point. Congratulations. Yeah. Hey. Like, and you're restricted to like 1 point a turn. Fun. Like, just what I want to spend 4 hours doing. Like, hey, I got a point.
You're outnumbered on this one, so.
Did you ever play the video game?
This one and outnumbered on the mind in our game group, so I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, but online though, everybody likes that better. Have you ever played?
Yeah, you don't play games with those people online, so.
I do too, sir. Have you ever played Desert Bus by Penn and Teller, where you're driving a bus?
Let's not bring that up.
No, because that's your style of game. Like, hey, I'm gonna play 8 hours to get a point. That's fun. It's super thematic, which is why you like it.
It's not thematic. No, you actually made a board game re-implementation of it that needs to go into the fire.
Just to make you mad. Anyway, mental blocks. Next one.
What do you mean, just to make me mad? I play enough of your games. I don't need your help to make more.
Oh, this has gone off the rails. We're done. I'm sorry for everybody who's still listening to this. Alright, mental blocks, go.
This is you.
It's you. I did last one, silver and gold. Yep, go.
Mental blocks is a game of puzzling perspectives. I mean, I left this one for you because this is all you here. With players trying to complete a puzzle using oversized foam blocks despite being only one perspective of the design. You have to cooperate to complete the puzzle as a team, but you have a time limit, so don't sit around staring at the pieces. In addition to the time pressure, players have other challenges, such as not being able to talk or touch certain color blocks. Mental blocks feature 60 puzzles, 30 family mode puzzles, and 30 challenge mode puzzles that ramp in difficulty. For even a wilder game, you can add a trader to the table to block your block building. Looks interesting. I don't know how this would go down in my game group.
Yeah, I mean, it really is neat how, like, the different perspectives. So you can, the picture that I brought up, which they're playing at a demo table, one, like, you can see like the colors in the squares, and that means that you can only see those colors exactly from that perspective, whereas another person has like the general shape as a black and white. So you have basically a packet of cards that shows you what shape you need to collectively make as a group. From every review that I've heard is that it's an interesting puzzle, it's kind of fun, but the hidden trader just doesn't work. Because The game's already really difficult as it is.
What is it with Jonathan Gilmour and trying to implement hidden traders in games? I mean, come on, Dead of Winter with the hidden trader. Come on, man.
I don't know. I wish I could tell you. I mean, that's like if you had Coaster Park from earlier with a hidden trader. It's like one person's trying to like ruin the roller coaster. It's like why why do
you
this?
don't need the help. The cardboard does it for you.
Oh no, for them. But I mean, this is definitely interesting components and a
very
cool
much so, especially
background.
since they're foam blocks.
Yeah. I like this. I think that's an interesting thing to keep in mind. Once again, Pandasaurus stepping outside the boundaries for it. Next one we have Machikoro Legacy, which they approached Rob Daviau to make a legacy version of Machikoro, which I read a designer diary from Rob Daviau about this, and he said at first it didn't make sense. You know, it was like, what story is there? And then he played Machikoro and started learning more about how silly Machikoro the premise is. And I can tell you, having played the entire campaign of Machikoro Legacy, the story behind it is absolutely silly. It's really funny. It's completely absurd. I do like what it does, but I understand if you don't love Machikoro already, this isn't going to change your mind. I don't feel.
What's interesting is I want to try this. I really do want to play Machikoro Legacy. Like I said, I don't mind Machikoro itself. I enjoy the game.
Yeah.
But you've already played it, and if I bought it, it would just have to be like me, Dom, maybe Bryce. Maybe you'll want to play it again, but it'd be hard because my wife won't play it. My wife detests Machikoro.
Yeah, I would be willing to play it again because here's the thing. Most of it, there are parts of it that do matter for later in the game, but I don't think that I would be able, knowing what I know now, that I would have a huge advantage over you guys. It's random enough. Or it doesn't, like, each game doesn't necessarily change. I know what I would aim for a little bit more, which might make me win better, but I don't feel that it's enough where I would... If you watched me play and saw how I was playing, you wouldn't like have to change your strategy, or you wouldn't be able to you'd be able to catch on quick enough where you could have just as much of an advantage as I.
All right, so the next game on our list is Dead Man's Cabal, and I've played this game.
Mm-hmm.
I like it, but I'm not a big fan of it. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah, I'm on the same boat.
It has a lot going on in it. You're basically a necromancer who's trying to throw himself a party because nobody wanted to come to your party. So you're building guests to your party out of dead bodies. And it's unique how it does thing with the follow mechanic and like, hey, I'm turning this in to do this action, and it's dependent on the color of the skull. It's a strategy game from Daniel Newman with game development from Jonathan Gilmour. Players compete to bring the dead back to life so they can throw a party with actual, guests. It's a different way to do an action selection, I have to say.
Right.
You could choose a private action followed by a group action, which is, hey, I want those skulls pick up over there, so I'm going to do this as a private, grab those skulls, and then this is going to be my group action, which everybody gets to do.
Yeah.
You're going to be collecting bodies, you're going to collect skulls, you're going to collect runes, you're going to bring the dead back to life. What I liked about it is when you're bringing dead back to life, the way you have to use the, I don't know if you have it pulled up, but that center board, where they have to be in a line of the certain skulls, the colors that you need, so the cards have a type of combination of skulls that they need within that thing, and you have to make sure the lines connect and there's nothing breaking up that line.
Yeah.
And it can curve and stuff like that. Sure. But it just has to follow a track. And then when you create that thing, you have to take those skulls out, which could break a line for someone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting. It's a good concept. I think for me, as much as I like it, there's just... I compare it to like Dinosaur Island. Dinosaur Island, there's a lot going on, but at least I'm engaged the whole way through. In this one, I tend to disengage playing it. Just because it's like, okay, well, that happened, and then this takes me out because you took that stuff away from me, so I can't do that now. So, yeah, it's a good game, but not a great game.
Right. Yeah. It was cool. There was parts of it that I did definitely enjoy. I do like it when there's like a kind of neat Euro game based on like a really abstract game method in the middle.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen that in one of my bigger designs, and you know what I'm talking about, where it's like the having like kind of like a mini abstract game in the middle of everything that's happening on Euro wise. It was neat. I don't know if I'd play it again because everything seemed like if you didn't get the cards that you need, then you didn't have a chance. That's how
Or
I
if you didn't
felt
get
to
the
me.
way the skulls lined up on the board for you to do
Sure.
properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I enjoyed it. I would play it again
Mm-hmm.
if our mutual friend Dom has this one. If he busts it out, yeah, I'll play it.
Yeah.
Just it was kind of I was hoping for more, I guess you could say. The component quality of this game is amazing.
Yes.
The skulls are nice rubbery. The
Those
bones are pretty cool.
Yes. Those are phenomenal.
But and the thing that takes me out of it, and I'm looking at the board that you had up on the screen over here, is that little area control game where you're trying to have like the longest line. To me, there was just too much going on in it. If it just did the where you're trying to bring the most people to life, and this and that, without the area control that gives you a reward, no, it's too much for what is in there, and it overstays its welcome because there's just too much going on.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I agree with you. It was neat for what it was. I love the components though. Those skulls and bones are so good.
The component quality, and I have to say this, Pandasaurus to me is right up there with Stonemaier when it comes to component quality. They put out some of the best components in games.
Sure, I can understand that. I don't think they're quite as good, but they're one of the ones that are up there for sure.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They're not as good as Stonemaier. Stonemaier is phenomenal when it comes to their components.
Right, exactly. Okay, cool.
So the next one on my list, and I'll let you talk about it, and I wanted a reason why I have this ahead is Godspeed.
Yes.
And the reason being is Sonora is actually on the list before it, but Sonora, because of COVID, got pushed back. It's only just starting to release, where Godspeed has already come out and people are getting their Kickstarters.
Yep, exactly. So let's talk about Godspeed then. I don't know much about it other than I do kind of dig the theme. I love space exploration. I think that's awesome. So the space race was a lie. Look, it's not that the moon landing was faked. It happened. Neil hates the conspiracy theories. The lie is that we never wanted to go, or that we ever wanted to go to the moon. We needed a spectacle to show people, just to justify the massive budgets of the agencies. Neil stepped on a rock 239,000 miles from Earth. Big deal. I stepped on an exoplanet circling Ursae Majoris 18 months earlier. It's a one-way trip, so there ain't going home. No ticker tape parade for me, but that's okay. I'm here for my country. See, the Russians beat us here by a few months. Japan showed up a few weeks after us. We'll colonize the planet for America because there isn't a choice. Godspeed is a mid-weight worker placement game of extraterrestrial colonization for 2 to 5 players with a 60 to 90 minute playtime from the back of the box. We're not going to go over all the specifics of it, but I'm going to jump to the points. Prestige is gained on 4 tracks: defense, exploration, commerce, and infrastructure, and your position on these tracks gains you points at the end of the game. You may also gain points by achieving civilization milestones. Only one nation can claim each milestone. Completing lunar season scoring cards. Any number of nations can complete these. Building ancient xenorelics. Completing special objective cards, and for leftover resources. The nation with the most victory points wins. So I've purposefully avoided this because it does sound really interesting to me. And I don't want to have to buy it. It
sound interesting to me as well. Our friend Dom, that we've mentioned before, owns this. He was a member of the Kickstarter. And so he has gotten it. We just haven't tried it yet. But one of the things that you skipped over, I do want to mention to them real quick. You play as one of the 5 nations in the game. You have the USA, Japan, Soviet Union, and the European nations, or India. Those are the 5 nations that you can play as. And the thing is, the game plays in 10 rounds with 4 phases each. We won't go into like a lot of what's going on here, but I dig the fact that it's taking place in like the 60s era when they went to the moon, and we're colonizing this other planet over here, and it's 5 nations, and I love the fact that one of them is the Soviet Union.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. It's very intriguing. I don't want to look too much into this because it's so intriguing that I don't know if I want to invest in it yet.
Yeah, so I'm looking at it. I just want to like look at the board and the components and stuff like that, and it looks really nice.
Yeah. So that's Godspeed. That's worth looking
into.
Well,
it looks like I'm going to have to get another game here soon.
Our next one. Go ahead.
And this one just came out. I'm seeing it like you saw it a lot if you watched the Dice Tower Spectacular, because Pandasaurus was one of their sponsors.
Yep.
And this one is Sonora. Sonora was actually supposed to come out in, what was it, April?
Yeah, I want to say
during
early April.
During the Board Game Expo that was supposed to be replacing Tabletop, and then everything shut down and locked down. They weren't even going to release this game because of everything that was happening over in Asia, which shut down a lot of their factories for print. So this got pushed back to just recently, and this is an interesting game. It's a flick and write. So it's a dexterity flicking game that you're writing, and the way you do this is you have entered the Sonoran Desert. It plays of vast beauty. Technicolor sunsets pop out over vistas, revealing deep canyons, trickling tributaries, and ancient Pueblo cliff dwellings. Immerse yourself in the secrets of the desert in flick and write game in which cunning and dexterity meet. In Sonora, players flick wooden discs onto game boards representative of the different vibrant landscapes across the Sonoran sands. Each area encompasses a different, unique game, so skillful aim is required to play in the region the player's choosing and score points on your dry erase sheet. But watch out for the other players eager to bump your disc to score points for themselves. I want this game. This is hands down one of the games I do want to own from them, just because it sounds so unique. However, I recently heard that there's an issue with the rulebook. It is very explains very well, I guess, explanatory.
It was as eloquent as you just stated it right there.
Yeah.
It's very non-explains goodly.
I can't speak.
Yeah. No, we've been speaking for like 2 hours already, so that's fair.
That, and I'm like super tired because I didn't get much sleep last night.
Right.
Because how many freaking fireworks do people have? Seriously.
Yeah, they're all it's all buy one get 25,000 free this year.
Wow, 4 o'clock in the morning. Come on, man.
So, I like this a lot because of the background of your sheets. Do represent the Sonoran Desert. So we live actually really close to the Sonoran Desert. We're just one desert away. We live in a
different desert. We live in the Chihuahuan Desert, which is right next door to the Sonoran Desert. It's hilarious.
Exactly. It's the only difference between them is one has saguaro cactuses and ours doesn't.
One doesn't.
Yeah. Pretty much. But yeah, no, I love the nature feel behind it. I haven't looked into this much, but now that I'm looking at just the dry erase sheets, I don't know if they're dry erase. I think they're just actually right on it.
No, it's a dry erase sheets.
Oh, are they? Okay.
On your dry erase sheets, yeah. Players choosing and score points on your dry erase sheets.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like one, I can tell you're filling in a canyon. It looks probably like the Grand Canyon, and it's like an area control thing with polyomino spaces. Another one is like there's little pueblos and vistas there. Another one is like all of the irrigation canals, the arroyos, and one is like the plant and animal life. Like, oh man,
what's funny about this one is that I know it's supposed to be in the Sonoran Desert, but this sounds like our backyard. We have Pueblo cliff dwellings, not that far from where we live. We got canyons everywhere. They're just not as cool as the Grand Canyon. But one of my favorite canyon areas that we have out here is called the Valley of Fire. It's over by Carrizozo.
Yep.
And then we do get those Technicolor sunsets. Just recently, we had a little rainstorm, and when the sun sets after a rainstorm is just one of the most amazing things you'll ever see.
Right, exactly. So this hits home pretty well. Yeah.
Except for we don't have those little cactuses on the cover of the thing.
Sure. Yeah, we'll do without those. Yuccas. That's fine. Yeah, because they're more iconic in a way now that I live here and I have to legally defend it. No, yuccas are pretty reminiscent of desert, though. But yeah, I can see why this is called Sonora. It looks really cool.
Yeah, it looks really nice. I can't wait to play it. I do want to get this. And for its price, for dexterity flick and right, I think it's like $30, if that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really not much, because you just have the tokens and then the sheets.
Yep. So it looks really good. I just hope they fix that rule book from what I'm hearing. I hope it gets better.
Sure. All right, the next one is Control. And this is the last one that we'll be talking about. I did see a video of them playing it, or putting it together. Basically, excuse me, you and the other players are all trying to dominate. It's an area control game on a 3x3 cube, and you have your little color connector cubes that go onto it and build off in different ways. You also have flag posts that are different colored for you. So it's a 2-player game. No, sorry, it's 2 to 4, I think. Yeah, 2 to 4.
Yeah, it says 2 to 4.
Try to dominate the cube by crawling over it with their colored sticks, preferably covering other players' bricks along the way. So, as you can imagine, the cube itself, it starts off just being a 3x3x3, but as people are adding bricks to it, you can start covering up different faces of other people and other cubes of theirs by building outward, which just expands the cube in different ways. The flags that you put into it are ways that you can make it so other people can't build in that axis, basically. It's really neat. It looks like it's a lot of fun, honestly, and it's such a brain burnery kind of game. But once again, there goes the components with Sonora and this and all those. Pandasaurus is just on a different level as far as what its production and what it's trying to do with its components.
And the uniqueness of it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I can't think of any other games that would make sense for Pandasaurus, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. Looks interesting. I don't know. Among all the other games that are coming out, like Godspeed and Sonoran, this one I'm just kind of like, meh on.
Yeah.
Not that it's bad. It's just, you follow this up after those two? Come on.
Yeah, exactly. It's a different plane. But, I mean, they probably saved a lot of money on art.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
So this is probably at the top of your list of one to play, huh?
This is probably at the bottom of yours, because this looks like you need brains for it. Oh, there you go. All right, we need to end this. Let's cut this out. So, if you've stayed in, I'm sorry. Let's just apologize.
But if you've watched any of our videos, we go at each other all the time. So you should be used to this by now.
Right, exactly. So,
I was talking during their stream of Tabletop Bellhop, where they were saying we have good chemistry, and I'm like, that's because we have years of tearing each other down.
Yeah, pretty much. See, I try to be civil for you. You're unrelenting, man. That's what I say. All right, well, let's talk about next week.
Again, because I've had to play a lot of your games.
All right, I'm gonna go home and cry. No. Later this week.
Go ahead and start crying because you're already at home.
In 2 days on Wednesday, our new Chits and Giggles episode, top anticipated soon to come games, which I have a feeling we've talked about one of them, which is why it was fresh in your memory. Hint, hint.
Huh? I don't know what you're talking about.
I have no idea. Or I guess it's just coming out, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna put that maybe on my talking list. I don't know. We'll see.
What is next Wednesdays? It's going to be the 8th?
Yeah, the 8th. And then on the 10th, we have the top 8 debate for 2-player games. And that will be, do we want to go over them right now?
Sure, we can go over them.
Okay.
Let me just get to that page real quick. All right, I'm ready.
All right. So we have our number 1 seed 2-player games, Seven Wonders Duel.
Versus our 8 seed Clask.
We have our number 2 seed Star Wars X-Wing.
Facing our number 7 seed Onitama.
We have our number 3 seed Star Realms.
Facing our number 6 seed Magic the Gathering.
And our number 4 seed Jaipur.
Facing our number 5 seed Targi. That 4 or 5 seed's going to hurt a lot.
Yeah, it is. I know which one's my favorite between the two, but they're both like those right
I know
there
which
are
one's my
probably my
favorite between the
favorite
two,
out
but
of all of them.
ouch.
Yeah, yeah, but ouch. Yeah, exactly.
It's like so. Like I have a favorite in our 1 to 8 seed. I have our favorite in the 3 to 4 seed. I have a favorite in the 2 to 7 seed. I'm okay with whoever wins in the 4 or 5, but it hurts either way because I love both of those games. I wish both of those would move on.
Right, exactly. Like they would handle so well in our opinions if they were like number 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, but oh well. All right, so if you want to get in contact us, you can email us at everydayboardgames2020 @gmail.com.
Yep. As well as the reimplementation of the videos are on our YouTube channel at Everyday Board Games 2020, as well as the audio versions on Podbean at Everyday Board Games Podcast. We are trying to get it onto other networks such as Google's and iTunes. It's just taking some time.
And if you want to talk to us live during one of these recordings, you can contact us at twitch.tv/everydayboardgames, or if you'd like to be part of our polls, you can go to Facebook and the Board Game Revolution forum.
And if you do not want to email us, you can also contact us on Twitter at EBGPodcast2020.
So, as always, I've been Daniel.
And I'm Daniel.
And you guys have a wonderful day. Stay safe.
Have a good one.